Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, colleagues and friends from the Kyiv National Economic University, my native university, and colleagues and friends from all over the world. Thank you very much for connecting to this conference today, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in it and to talk about the accounting profession development and ways forward in this development. I will share my slides in a second. Okay, I hope that you can see slides on the screen right now. So my presentation will be focused around the following areas in the first part. I will talk about the Center for Financial Reporting Reform and the context of support of the accounting reform the CFRR provides. Also, I will talk about the accounting reform in public sector and why it is important. And what are the differences between accounting in public and private sector? What are key institutes contributing to the accounting reform? How the accounting reforms are progressing in pulsar and startup countries, and what is next in the accountancy professional development or challenges in its development. So the Center for Financial Reporting Reform is the World Bank division, which is based in Vienna, and its focus areas include accounting and governance of state-owned enterprises, audit, oversight, and quality assurance, the accounting professional bodies development, accounting and advisory of small and medium enterprises, financial sector governance and accountability, accounting and audit education, and public sector accounting and audit. And this list is not complete. There is one more area which is currently being under development, which is sustainability reporting standards. And this is a new area for CFRR, which is going to be added to the focus areas list soon. And currently it's being under development. So on this slide, you may see the programs which are being implemented by the Center for Financial Reporting Reform. And as you may see, all these programs are focusing on those areas which were listed in the previous slide. And they are mostly around the accounting and audit reforms and accountability and transparency, with different focuses on different subject areas like public sector or private sector or small medium enterprises or state-owned enterprises. And also it has a regional division, like several projects are more focused on the Central Asia, some projects are more focused on East and Asia and Pacific, and some projects are on Europe and Central Asia countries, and with different composition of a number of participating countries in each of this project. And the more and more focus is being devoted to the public sector accounting. And so the accounting reform in public sector, why is it important? And the answer is that the government activity accounts for a major part of gross domestic product or GDP, and government assets and liabilities are usually substantial in all economies. It's therefore very important that they are effectively managed and that governments are kept accountable for this management to their citizens, to their representatives, to investors, and to other stakeholders. Government finance statistics provide information on the accounts of the different subsectors of general government so that policymakers and other stakeholders are able to analyze the financial position and performance of government in the long-term sustainability of public finance. And of course, the main sources of these statistics are the accounting reports and financial reports of the various government entities, supplemented with the financial information. So public versus private, what's the difference? And public sector accounting is the process how government agencies and departments record financial transactions. It also covers the sources of income, expenditures, and the accounting methods which are used. Private sector accounting is the process and methods private businesses record and report their financial transactions. While being similar to private accounting in theory, the focus of the public accounting is somewhat different. Most of government agencies and departments need to monitor funds generated from tax revenues as expenditures on projects and appropriations. In addition, nations may need to follow a set of standards of accounting principles which are different from private accounting rules. Therefore, creation of an international accounting standard helps nations to follow similar rules to present information in a similar way, which is important for comparability reasons and taking into account globalization processes. So there are three main differences between private and public sector accounting, and these differences include accounting standards, statements, and reporting. And standards are the guidelines and principles an organization must follow, while statements relate to the kinds of financial statements that businesses, organizations, and governments must prepare. And reports include types of annual financial reports which government and private businesses must prepare. So the key distinctions directly relate to the purpose of business activity. Evidently, purpose of the private entity is profit. On the other hand, governments do not operate on a profit and loss basis, but rather they operate to give services to the people. And according to the GASB white paper, the public and private sectors of the economy have different purposes, different processes for generating revenues, stakeholders are strictly contrasting, and public sector entities may often be long-lasting, comparing to often shorter life of private sector companies. What are the key institutes contributing to the accounting reform at international and local levels? At international levels, first of all, these are standard setters, like International Federation of Accountants, like International Accounting Standard Board, being a standard setter for IFRS, International Public Sector Accounting Standard Board, being a standard setter for IPSAS. And also important role is played by the international or multilateral development organizations such as World Bank, International Monetary Fund, Asian Development Bank, and other similar organizations. Speaking about the local level, the key institutes who contribute to the accounting reform include the national standard setters like ministries of finance and other legislators. It also includes professional accounting organizations. It also includes education institutions like universities, training centers, etc. And again, international development organizations play significant role at the local level as well, helping to bring best international experience and best international practices to the local level, helping particular country to implement certain reforms using these best international practices. So what was the progress of the countries participating in regional programs of the Center for Financial Reporting and Reform? And here I would like to focus more on two regional programs where Ukraine took and Kiev National Economic University as well took an active part at So it's a startup regional program for accounting and audit reform in private sector, and pulsar regional program focusing on accounting reform in public sector. So the key 4 areas of reform which are outlined is in this slide include the audit reform. So all the countries participating in the startup program, because this was relating to the audit in the private sector, implemented the national legislation which was in line with the European directive and regulation on the statutory audit. Talking about accounting reform, the countries brought their national legislation in line with the accounting directive, and also international financial reporting standards were implemented in all participating countries. The third important area was bringing national accounting standards in public sector in line with international public sector accounting standards, or IPSAS. Each country has its own way of implementing this reform. Some countries are directly implement IPSAS in their national legislation. Some countries align their national public sector accounting standards with IPSAS, but one way or another way, this is a way forward to moving to the good practice and moving to synchronized financial reporting in the public sector. And the fourth area is bringing accounting universities and PAO's curricula in line with international education standards, which is also a very important area, because in case the public sector accounting education area doesn't follow the development of the standards and development and doesn't follow the reform in accounting in an audit, it may mean that the profession is not going to be in line with these changes, and it's not going to be responding to the needs of information users. So what is the next? Whether implementing of accounting and audit reform means that there is no development area and there is no way forward, and the reform doesn't need further efforts from the profession as regards to its development. We consider that the next important area is sustainability reporting standards. Why are they important, and what are they different from the financial reporting standards or IPSAS or other standards in this area? They are different because they have 3 significant pillars which are covered by the standards. And these pillars include, the first one include environment, which is climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, water and marine and resource use, pollution, biodiversity and ecosystem, and different EU taxonomies in this area. The second significant pillar covers social aspects of the business entity activity, which is equal opportunities, working conditions, protection of human rights, and other components which are built together with the first pillar on European pillar of social rights. And the third important pillar is governance, which includes role and composition of board of management of the entity, ethics and corporate culture, political engagements, business relationships, control and risk management. So these standards add more information about the sustainable sustainable business of certain entity, whether it's in the public sector or private, whether it's small or it's big entity. It just show how not only financial, it adds financial information with much broader range of information. And in complex, in combination, all this data allows to judge on the company's sustainability and its sustainable activity and its impact on environment, its impact on or observance of social rules and conduct. So, what is the purpose of this standards application? And it is planned that these standards are going to be mandatory for large companies, while for small and medium enterprises, there will be diversified approach. The standards are going to be mandatory for small and medium enterprises, which have their securities listed on the regulated market, and the standards are going to be voluntary for all other small and medium enterprises. So the standards are being developed by the European Financial Reporting Advisory Group in EFRAG. I'm talking about the European part of work on this sustainability reporting standards. But there are many other groups working at a global and regional level on the standards. So talking about EU, there is EFRAG, who is developing the standards, and European Commission will adopt the standards as a delegated act after consulting with relevant European Union bodies. And the content of the standards or requirements to the standards, you may see them on the slide. They need to meet quality criteria like understandability, relevance, reliability, verifiability, faithful representation. The standards should cover all three pillars: environment, social, and governance. They should take account of the European Union legislation and initiatives which are already in place, and they should also take into account global standard setting initiatives in this area. So this is like a new layer of standards for the which will impact the accounting professional development. And therefore, as we may see, the importance of reliable and transparent financial information, broadening of its scope and adding more and more layers of additional information that is requested by investors, that is requested by governments, counterparts, and other users of information. This all dictates development of the accounting profession going forward. It raises its significance in further economic sustainability and in further economic security as well. This development envisages both challenges and opportunities because it requires ongoing development, broadening and updating the knowledge areas. And the World Bank continues to be an ongoing partner on this road, supporting best international practices implementation at regional and country level and supporting accounting professional development in partner countries. So thank you very much again to Kyiv National University of Economics for organizing this event, even at this very difficult and so important time for Ukraine and for all Ukrainians. This is very important to think at this particular time, not only about personal security, but also about economic security. So this forum is very timely. and stay strong. Слава Україні! Дякую.